Have you ever felt like you're living a life that isn't truly yours, married out of duty, while your heart longs for something else? Join me in this slow and emotional story, Married Another, Love or Duty? Morning in Copenhagen. Imagine this. The sun rises slowly over Copenhagen, painting the sky in pale gold. The streets are still half asleep, bicycles lean against colorful townhouses, and the smell of fresh bread drifts out from the bakery on the corner. It looks like the perfect postcard. But for Anna, this morning is anything but simple. Her life is carefully arranged, like the neat rows of houses along Nyhavn. From the outside, she seems like any young woman in Denmark, married, stable, walking to work with a scarf against the chilly breeze. Yet inside, her heart beats to a rhythm that doesn't match the calm of the city. She carries a secret, a love story that never really ended. Why does this matter to you, sitting here trying to practice English? Because maybe you felt the same way. On the surface, everything looks fine, but inside, you're tired, confused, or even ready to give up on learning. Your mind whispers, why try? It's too late. But here's the twist, the brain hates being bored. It craves stories, feelings, drama. That's why using a simple daily story like Anna's makes English stick in your memory far better than a dry grammar rule. Science backs this up. Psychologists say we remember emotions up to 3 times longer than facts. So, if Anna's heartache is wrapped in simple English sentences, your brain will naturally lean in. It's like watching a slow movie. You can hear every word, feel every pause, and quietly repeat after me without pressure. So here we are. The morning in Copenhagen is not just Anna's morning, it's yours too. A morning where you decide, I won't quit. I'll keep listening, reading, speaking, step by step. And just like Anna walking through the streets, you'll walk through this language story with me. The arranged marriage. Picture this, you're sitting at a family dinner, the candles flicker, the food smells comforting, but every bite tastes like obligation. That was Anna's wedding day. Not a grand love story, not fireworks in the sky, just an agreement, a tradition, a good match that her parents believed would keep her safe. She smiled for the photographs, wore the white dress, and kissed her husband's cheek. On the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside? Her heart was like a closed book. She had once been in love, real love, the kind that makes your pulse race when you hear his footsteps. But her family told her, love fades. Stability lasts. And so, she chose duty over passion. Now, here's where your English practice sneaks in. When you listen to Anna's story, you're not just learning vocabulary like wedding, family, tradition, duty. You're also learning rhythm, the rise and fall of a real conversation. Neuroscientists say your brain catches language faster when it's tied to emotion. And Anna's marriage is dripping with unspoken emotion. Imagine repeating after me slowly. She married out of duty. Say it again. She married out of duty. Do you feel how the words carry weight? You're not just pronouncing syllables, you're tasting the sadness in them. That's how language becomes real. So, Anna entered her arranged marriage with a quiet nod and heavy heart. She lived in a cozy apartment, cooked dinner, folded laundry, and played the role of a wife. But every time she looked in the mirror, she whispered to herself, "This is not the life I dreamed of." And maybe, just maybe, you've whispered something similar when facing English. This is too hard. Maybe it's not for me. But like Anna, your story isn't over yet. A quiet cafe meeting. Copenhagen has hundreds of cafes, but destiny only needs one. Anna walked into a small place near the train station, hoping for nothing more than a warm latte. The bell above the door chimed, and suddenly, her past sat at a corner table. It was him. The man she once loved. The one she thought she had left behind forever. He looked up, eyes widening just slightly, and for a moment the entire cafe seemed to freeze. The clinking of cups, the chatter, even the hiss of the espresso machine, it all faded into silence inside her chest. You see, the human brain loves drama. That's why you're leaning in right now. Neuroscientists say our memory lights up when we experience surprise. And nothing is more surprising than love walking back into your life when you've already promised yourself to another. Anna's English lesson begins right here, and so does yours. Say this slowly: she saw him again. Repeat: she saw him again. Simple, yes. But inside that sentence, there's an earthquake. That's the power of language. You don't need complicated words to express complicated feelings. He invited her to sit. Their conversation was polite, almost too polite. They talked about weather, work, the city. Yet under every word, something unspoken pulsed. Why now? Why here? And though she tried to control her smile, her heart was already running through old streets of memory. Here's the tricky part. She wasn't just meeting him. She was meeting herself again, the version of Anna who once believed in love before duty chained her down. And that recognition hurt more than any goodbye. When you practice English through this scene, don't just hear the words. Feel the tension. Whisper it to yourself. A quiet cafe meeting. It's more than coffee. It's the storm before the storm. Conflicted emotions. Imagine holding two magnets in your hands, one pulling left, one pulling right. That was Anna's heart after the cafe. On one side, her husband, steady, kind, dependable. On the other, the man who had once made her feel alive, the man whose eyes still carried sparks even in silence. Her mind tried to be logical. I am married. I made a choice. I owe my family, my husband, my name. But emotions don't listen to logic. They sneak in at midnight, whisper in your dreams, and wrap around your chest until breathing feels like betrayal. This is where language learning mirrors life. When you're torn between grammar rules and real communication, your brain panics. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, when two truths fight inside you. For Anna, the truths were love and duty. For you, it might be, I want to speak English versus, I'm afraid of mistakes. Both pull hard, leaving you exhausted. Try saying this aloud with me. Her heart was torn. Again, her heart was torn. Short, heavy, unforgettable. You don't need fancy words. You need real words. Words that punch straight into memory. At night, Anna lay next to her husband, listening to his calm breathing. Yet in her mind, she replayed the cafe conversation again and again. A smile here. A glance there. 1,000 what-ifs. She felt guilty for even remembering, guilty for being human. But isn't that the cruel joke? The heart never signs legal papers. It just beats, stubborn and wild, and maybe, in your own way, you know this struggle too. You want to move forward, but your past mistakes pull you back. You want to learn English, but doubt whispers, what if I fail again? Anna's battle is your practice ground. Every sentence, every repetition, is you choosing which voice to follow. A stroll along Nyhavn. Nyhavn looks like a painting that forgot it was real. Brightly colored houses lean toward the water, boats rock gently in the canal, and tourists snap photos with ice cream cones in hand. For most people, it's just a beautiful street. For Anna and him, it became a battlefield of memory. They walked side by side, the cobblestones echoing under their steps. On the surface, their conversation was harmless: art exhibitions, weather, the price of coffee. But every word carried shadows of the past. Every laugh was a reminder of the laughter they once shared. Every pause stretched longer than it should, like silence confessing what mouths could not. Here's the secret your brain doesn't want you to know: it loves patterns. That's why when you hear, they walked together along Nyhavn, your mind automatically paints the scene. Simple sentence, powerful image. Try saying it with me. They walked together along Nyhavn. Again, slower. See? The words stay because your imagination clings to them. Anna looked at the colorful windows and wondered how many stories hid behind them. How many couples had loved, fought, and chosen in silence. She wondered if she was selfish for even enjoying this walk, or if it was the only moment of truth she had left. Her chest tightened, torn between the postcard beauty of the harbor and the storm inside her. You know that feeling, don't you? Smiling on the outside while inside you're a hurricane. It's the same when you practice English in front of others. People see calm, but inside you're panicking. What if I say it wrong? Yet, just like Anna still walking forward, you too must keep speaking, one step, one word at a time. Nyhavn didn't give Anna answers. It gave her reflection. And sometimes reflection is more dangerous than any question. The husband's silence. Silence can be louder than shouting. At home, Anna's husband never asked questions, never accused, never demanded. He simply watched her with soft eyes, as if he already knew but chose to pretend he didn't. That silence was heavier than any confrontation. Imagine eating dinner together. The fork touches the plate. The clock ticks. She forces a smile. He nods gently. No drama, no fight, just the quiet weight of unspoken truth. Sometimes, silence is not peace. Sometimes, silence is the sound of someone carrying your pain for you. Here's where psychology sneaks in. Humans fear uncertainty more than pain. Neuroscientists found that when people expect an electric shock but don't know when it will come, their stress skyrockets. Anna lived inside that uncertainty. She didn't know what her husband felt, or if he'd ever speak. And that silence wrapped tighter around her than chains. Now pause. Repeat with me. He stayed silent. Again, he stayed silent. For words, but they carry a mountain of meaning. Practicing English like this makes the words stick because they're tied to story, not just lists. At night, Anna sometimes caught him staring at her when he thought she wasn't looking. Not with anger, but with quiet resignation. As if saying, I know. But I'll carry this. And that broke her more than shouting ever could. Because love can forgive, but it can also suffocate when unspoken. Maybe you've felt that too, when you hide your struggles with English. People think you're fine, but inside you're screaming, I'm lost. I need help. And you stay silent. But silence doesn't solve. Speaking, no matter how broken, sets you free. Anna's husband chose silence, and that silence forced her to face herself. The choice of duty. Picture Anna standing at her window, watching the gray Copenhagen rain streak down the glass. Outside, the city kept moving, bicycles whizzed by, children laughed, buses hissed to a stop. Inside, she stood still, torn between two worlds. One built on stability, one built on longing. Her heart whispered, run to him. Her head replied, stay where you are. And in between those voices sat duty. Duty to her husband, to her parents, to the promises she had already spoken out loud. Humans are wired for loyalty. Psychologists call it the commitment bias. Once we choose, we tend to stick, even when the cost is high. Anna was living inside that bias, trapped by the invisible ropes of obligation. Here's your practice moment. Say it slowly, she chose duty. Repeat, she chose duty. Do you feel how the words sound heavier when you let them sink in? That's the weight of sacrifice inside a simple English phrase. Anna thought about what life would mean if she followed her heart. Maybe joy. Maybe disaster. But she also thought about what life would mean if she betrayed her vows. The shame. The broken trust. The family dishonor. In Denmark, people often say, trust is stronger than love. And in that moment, Anna realized trust was the cage she couldn't escape. So she decided. She would not leave. She would not risk destroying the man who had given her quiet devotion. Her love would remain a ghost, alive only in memory, while her duty would shape the rest of her days. And here's the lesson for you. Sometimes learning English feels the same. Your heart wants excitement, freedom, quick success. But the duty is repetition, patience, showing up every day. Painful? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Anna chose duty. And with that choice, she lost something and gained something all at once. Love or duty? Rain washed the streets clean, but not Anna's heart. She lived her days beside her husband, cooking dinner, folding laundry, smiling at neighbors. On the surface, she was the picture of a stable Danish wife. But deep inside, there was a locked room where another story still breathed. A story of love she had chosen not to follow. Here's the strange truth. The human brain doesn't always chase happiness. Often, it chases survival, security, the path of least regret. Psychologists call it loss aversion. We fear losing more than we desire winning. Anna feared losing her family, her husband's quiet trust, her place in the world. And so, she chose duty, even if love remained a ghost in her chest. Say this with me: she chose duty over love. Again, she chose duty over love. That sentence is more than English, it's a mirror. How many times in your own life have you done the same? Maybe not in marriage, but in dreams, in risks, in learning. You chose safety over growth. Silence over speaking. And maybe even giving up English when it got hard. Anna's story isn't about who she loved more. It's about the weight of living with your choices. Sometimes you don't get what you want, you get what you can live with. And that is its own kind of courage. So let this story remind you, your English journey will not always be about passion or fun. Sometimes it's about discipline, small steps, duty. But hidden inside that discipline is freedom, the freedom to finally say what you feel, in another language, without fear. Anna's walk through love and duty is over. Yours is just beginning. Life always tests us between love and duty. Some choose responsibility, others follow the heart. What about you? Before you decide, remember, learning English through real emotions helps you grow in both language and life.